My name is Paige Swanson, and welcome back. This is an episode of Future Options, and we are joined by a special guest, Mr. Atkins. He is here to talk to us about apprenticeships. He works for the Minneapolis JATC, which is an apprenticeship program. But with that, I'm going to let him explain more. Most of our students, I don't know if they know specifically what an apprentice is, what that means, who can take advantage of those type of programs. So we're hoping you can help us.
All right, thank you. Thank you. So we'll definitely talk about all of that. So while I am the director for the Minneapolis Electrical JATC, an apprenticeship is basically learning and working basically as you grow in your career. So literally you go work on a job site, you're working with, and the levels are, you would have an apprentice level electrician, or you could be an apprentice level carpenter, you could be an apprentice level roofer, whatever the trade is. But you are basically learning under the direct supervision of a journey level worker, who is somebody that has spent 3, 4, 5 years learning the trade and has attained that journey level status. And then they can supervise other apprentices. And then eventually the next step would be, like in our trade, is then you could write the state test for obtaining your Minnesota Class A Master's Electrical License. So that's kind of the levels of going from apprenticeship to journey level to being a master, basically, of your trade. And I'm going to, if it's okay, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see, I'll go there. So this is a little bit about presenting to everybody. So I'm assuming you're able to see the slide set. All right, I'll just got to ask that because you never know. But yeah, we are located in St. Michael. So students come here just in St. Michael 1 day a week, but otherwise they're working all over in the Minneapolis metro area. All right, so our apprenticeship program, it is a 5-year program. That's a picture of our building. Normally from September to May, you would attend school 1 day a week, and then the rest of the time you're working out on a job site. So as you go through, and I'll talk more about the application process, but once you apply, get accepted into the program, literally day one, we say, all right, make sure you have your work boots, you have your working clothes, have your tools, and away you go to a contractor, and out you go on to a job site. And we do all types of work. We will do residential work. So you could be wiring a single family home, or you could be wiring up a very popular job site right now is multi-unit apartment complexes. So you see those popping up all over the place. And we've been wiring up those. Commercial, we'll see how the commercial market does. COVID has definitely kind of impacted the commercial marketplace. There's not as many offices being built out. There's not as many, restaurants being built out. But you do see, companies like, whether it's Target or other big corporations like that are building out like data centers. So you see, or Amazon or other companies building out warehouse space as they're moving products around and whatnot. So we still see some of that work. And then we do see industrial work, because you still have plants that have to make glass bottles or plastic bottles, or they have to make shingles or whatever it is, making cardboard boxes. We also do that type of work. So 5-year program, 5 years, going to school 1 day a week, working the rest of the time. And at the end of it, the expectation is that you have enough knowledge and skill level that you go and take the Minnesota Class A Journey Level Licensing exam, and you pass that. It is a difficult exam, but in the 5 years, we do a very good job of teaching and training people to be able to go and write and pass that test and take it. And at that point, you achieve journey level licensing status, and you're able to do electrical work on your own. And then really that's kind of, in my mind, that is the start, really the true start of your, basically of your career. I know we have one graduate of basically of your school that's in our program now, for sure, one that's in, and he's doing very well, and the thing about too, in this next slide, well, I'll go back to the other one. But when you start off, right now, starting pay is about $22 an hour. And then plus you have all of your benefits on top of that. And journey level pay is at $45.51 an hour. So it is a good living. And like I say, on top of the $45.51 an hour, on top of that is all of your benefits. So you get full health care coverage. You get full dental coverage. You get full vision coverage. You have 3 pensions. You have a 401k that the employer contributes into it. You have 20 paid holidays. 20 paid days of vacation and 12 holidays. So It's a very good benefit package. And this all starts right away, even while you're an apprentice electrician. So, and every year you just keep moving up off of the 22 an hour. So you go to 27, then you go to 32, then you go to 37, and then up to 45 an hour. So it's good pay. It's a good benefit package. It's a good career. All right. And effectively you can get into it out of high school. And that's kind of the beauty of it. All right. And while you're in the application process, you can work as a pre-apprentice. So if we have shops that are out there that while you're trying to get accepted into the program, if you can get a shop to hire you as a pre-apprentice makes about $18 an hour to start off with. Now, our application process, as long as you're 17 years of age, you can apply with us. You go to mplsjatc.org. And on our webpage, you'll see the online application. The big things that you got to have a driver's license, because for the most part, you're driving all over the place. It's rare that you're ever on a job site longer than 6 months. I know when I was working with the tools, if I went 6 months, that was a long time to be on a job. Granted, you have some of these big jobs that'll go for a long duration, but for whatever reason, it always seemed like I hit about the 3-month-long jobs, which I like because it was a variety. I'd go work here for 3 months, go work here for 3 months, and it was nice to see a big variety. But yeah, you'll have to have a driver's license. You're going to want to have a resume, and then also you're going to have to upload your latest version of your high school transcript. And then we give you an aptitude test, which is basic algebra and reading comprehension. The reading comprehension, we give you 4 passages. You answer a bunch of questions about it. The algebra is, given this formula and these variables, what is the answer to it? Given this graph, what equation depicts it? Given this sequence of numbers, what's the next number in it? And then the real key is the interview. So you pass the aptitude test, and then you go into the interview. And the interview is about 10 minutes. And you're going to have 6 people that are going to look at you. And you're going to walk into a room, sit down at a chair, and then they're going to look at you and say, well, welcome, this is your interview. We're going to ask you some scripted questions. Go. And you're going to have to do everything you can to impress those 6 people to get a high score, so you get high on our ranking list, so that when we do hire, we hire you into the program. But they are not going to ask you anything about what you know about electrical. They're simply going to ask you life situational questions, such as, well, why do you want to be this? Why do you want to be an electrician? Give us a time where a problem arose and you had to come up with a solution to fix it. Give us a time where you didn't get along with somebody. What did you do? Give us a time where something bad happened, whether you got hurt or somebody else got hurt, and what did you do about it? So they're looking at life situational type things like, can you problem solve? Can you do critical thinking? Can you get along with people? If those type of things. Are you going to be reliable and dependable? Are you going to show up on time? And really going into it, that's really what you have to sell is yes, I can be dependable. I will show up every day. I will work hard. I have a willingness to learn. And I get along well with other people, and I will have a good attitude. So that is at least half the battle, because in the 5 years that you're going to be here, if you have a good attitude and you show up and you're willing to work hard, we will teach you everything you need to know to be a good electrician. And I would say that's true of all of the construction trades. So even though I'll be biased towards being an electrician, but all of the other trades, same thing, whether you want to be a roofer, a carpenter, an iron worker, a painter, whatever, and they're good jobs, that's at least half the battle is a good attitude and showing up. So
yeah, that's good to hear. We try to really stress that, because skills you can learn, but the personality piece, how you handle those different situations is a big deal. Now, I had a real quick question about this. So students don't need to go out and find a job. They just need to apply to your program, and then you help them after the education piece. You help them find a position, a job where they're going to be getting paid to do their electrical work, or whatever trade or their apprenticeship program they decide to apply to. They don't have to do that work. They just need to do the work of applying, going through your aptitude test and the interview.
Yes, that for the most part, that is absolutely correct. Once you get accepted into our program, like if I call you up and say, hey, I'm offering you a position in our program, that means I have a job for you. That means as soon as you go through the orientation process, the intake process with me, it's like, all right, you're going to work for such and such electric, or you're going, and you never have to worry about finding a job again, because we do that. We take care of sending you off to the shops that have work. The only exception to that is the pre-apprentice. To get hired on as a pre-apprentice, then you call up some of the shops and you have sit downs and meet with them. But other than that, once you apply, when you apply with us and you get accepted into the program, we take care of putting you to work, which is kind of nice.
That's so nice, because not, in college, in a traditional college setting, they would not be guaranteeing you a job, to help pay for all this stuff. So after the 5 years, once the student is done with their 5-year education program, do most of them continue working for the jobs that they've been at while they're in school, or how does that work?
So they could, it depends. They could, I know of people that have, when they obtain their journey level status, they stayed working with the same shop for the next 20 years. Or I've known in some cases, it's like, well, no, the shop ran out of work. It is construction that happens. They got laid off. They went on to another shop. Or some people want to travel, and there is work elsewhere in the country. And so you could travel other places. Now, granted, some of the destinations may not be all that great. We had apprentices that were working down in Des Moines, Iowa, because Facebook and Microsoft are building 2 very huge data centers down there right now. And they have a ton of work going on down there. But it's Des Moines, Iowa, But we've had people work in Vegas. We've had people work all over the country. So, and make a lot of money doing it too. So, it kind of depends upon what the economy is doing.
Right. Okay.
So, moving on. So I'll go through kind of some of the stuff that we have in our program, the different types of stuff that you'll see. So like this is a picture of our pipe bending lab. So you can see like this is conduit runs up in the ceiling, or back along this wall. This is conduit. And this lab is all about how do I bend that pipe? How do I install it, make it look good? And how do I use all of the different equipment that you have in here? How do I bend it by hand, or how do I push a button and make this thing spin and then bend up the pipe? Or how do I use a hydraulic pipe bender to make that work? Or if I have to cut and thread the pipe, And you use some trigonometry with the two, and that's what I like about this trade is that it's definitely a thinking trade because there's a lot of things you got to understand. This is a picture of our transformer lab. So voltages and AC power, that's what these things are all about. This is what you would see in a typical electrical closet. So I see panel boards, I see disconnects. You have 480 volts of power that comes into a building. Well, how do I get that down to 120 volts that you have your outlet that you're plugging stuff into? That's what this lab is. So we size up conductors, we size up circuit breakers, we size up fuses and all of that, and then how you put all of that in correctly and not have anything blow up, because that's kind of important too. So when I was talking about industrial work, so like this is our motor control labs, but this is all about how do I take certainty is down in Shakopee, and I spent a fair amount of time working in that plant. But how do I take a huge roll of felt paper and then coat it with asphalt and then coat it with granulars and then cut it just exactly right and then stack it all up, wrap it up, and then put it on a pallet and do that all fully automated with just two people looking at a couple of computer screens and running the whole process. And that's what this is all about. How do I wire up timers? How do I wire up relays? How do I wire up motors? How do I wire up photo eyes and other limit sensors and whatnot, and then have it all fully automated and controlled? So that's what this lab is about. Probably my favorite lab of the whole building. This is our PLC lab, and a PLC is a programmable logic controller. So if you like a little bit of computer work, so we have guys that will drive around in a van and they'll carry a laptop. And then when a plant like I was just describing, they have issues, they'll go in, hook up a laptop to it, look, where is the problem at, and then go and fix it. So there is a definite technical side to this as well, or a dairy process, or a food packaging plant, or a cardboard manufacturing plant. They will have all of this type of control in there. This is our medium voltage, and medium voltage is the really high voltage stuff, like 13,800 volts or 8,000 volts. So like when you think of the overhead transmission lines, sometimes we have that very high voltage come into buildings. Like the Viking Stadium has 13,800 volt electrical services that come in, and then we have to transform that down to 480 volts and then transform it down again to 120 volts. But how do you work with that safely? Because that's such a high voltage. It's not even that I get worried about accidentally touching it. If I get too close to it, it literally will arc over to me. And that's bad.
Right.
And most people don't survive that. So that's what this is all about is how do I work with all of that safely? And at least 50% of that class is on safety. And not to say that as a first year apprentice, you're not going to get put into the situation of working on that. We have a pretty safe track record. This is building automation. This is all about how do we heat and cool a building, and it's fully automated and run off of a computer system. And then this is our test instruments lab, and this is all about how do we measure voltage, current, how do we verify that things are turned off, because we like to work on things that are not energized because we don't like getting shocked. But how do I use the meters appropriately so that I know that power is turned off? Or if things are not working right, how do we use the meters and that type of thing to basically show, all right, this is where the problem is, or this is what's causing the problem, and then how do you fix it? And then lastly, solar. And solar is very big. And solar, and I'll just say renewables altogether, solar, electric vehicles, wind, it's all going to keep booming because you have Xcel Energy that's saying that by 2050, they want to be completely carbon free. So that means a lot of solar, wind, and batteries, energy storage. And then also you have Ford and GM saying that by 2030, 2035, they want all their cars to be electric cars. And that is a lot of work that we have to do. That's moving forward. So, and we train on all of that, and we see all that type of work. So that is, I mean, I love that aspect of the industry because it definitely has an impact basically on our environment, you know, on our planet. And it's a good thing. It's a very good thing. So that's kind of a quick rundown of basically the things that we have in the program and everything that we cover. And we run through a lot of that in our 5 years. So, and I'll come out of presenter mode, but that's kind of a quick snapshot of it. And of course we deal with a lot of electrical code, which is this document, because everything has to be wired to that.
Right. And like you're talking about the safety, like it's important to know that, all that background.
Exactly.
So that was great. Thank you so much for sharing all that. I did have one question I forgot to ask when you were talking about the application process and the benefits and things like that. Now, to become an apprentice with your program, does it cost money for the education, or is that one of the benefits that students receive?
So it is, it costs $25 to apply, and then we charge you for books for the school year, but all the schooling is free.
Wow. Okay.
So there is, that is, I can't emphasize that enough. That's a huge benefit because at the end of the 5 years, you will have no debt. If anything, if you manage your money right, there should be no reason why you shouldn't have $30,000 in a bank account and have a house.
Wow. Yeah. So that's just something really important for our students to realize, that with the apprenticeship programs, with specifically with your program as well, that students really get paid to learn their trade, to graduate with credentials that can take them not only in Minnesota, but throughout the United States. And really, you know, the world is their oyster. They get to choose how they use that going forward.
Exactly. No, it is. And like I say, with any of the trades, you know, they are very good paying jobs, and you don't have to go to a 4-year school for it, you know, and I see a fair number of people that have gone to a 4-year school. I did. I went and got a college degree, and I was like, you know what? I don't really want to necessarily always be stuck sitting in a cubicle. I want to get out and about and do things. And we see a lot of people that's what they want to work on their hands. Right. Work with their hands and go do a variety of different things. And that's kind of what's cool about the construction trades.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I will make sure that when we post this video for students, that they have a website that they can go to learn more and hopefully start that application process, that they like to work with their hands and really enjoy getting all these benefits. It's hard to understand when you're 14, 15, 16, even, you know, up to 18, how valuable those benefits will be, because it just takes such a large portion of your budget if you weren't offered those things. So that's just amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll talk to you later and have some more partnerships like this so students can just continue to learn more.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out.
Perfect.